Okay, hello, we are live. We're going to take a look at some stories of the day in Canada news, just sort of have some fun here. We got some I got some bookmarks on X, but I'll take a look at this interview. Probably not the whole thing, but I'll start with this interview here, this panel show on CBC where they all have the same opinion, but we'll see what they say today.
All the opposition leaders to go with him, and they have all taken him up on that request. So everyone's in another show of unity going out to do this together. Andrew, in this moment, what does political leadership have to look like, whether it be the Prime Minister or anyone else?
Well, these sorts of moments always have somebody saying that the leaders put politics aside. But of course, they can never put politics aside. They are in politics. It's not a part-time job. They're under scrutiny at all times. And in fact, what we require them is to be very political about putting politics aside. They have to find, and it's the politics in the best sense of the word, of being politic, of finding the right word, the right gesture that fits the mood of the moment, that captures the mood of the public of this. And they all did a credible job of that. But the notion that this is, you can depoliticize this. I'll just take one aspect of this desire for unity. Well, the desire for unity in this country is not universally shared. And so you saw each of the other leaders saying that the nation is united, but the leader of the Bloc Québécois only wanted to talk about the Quebec nation. Each of those were choices. They're each defensible, but don't let us pretend that there wasn't politics running through all those remarks.
It was the first time the Bloc leader had spoken English inside the House of Commons, though, and he did that to make a signal to British Columbia, obviously. Althea, you want to pick up on that point, but also just what you think the moment calls for.
You know, sometimes I think I'm the cynical one on this panel, but alas, Andrew is there to grab the mantle away from me.
Hey, they're going to disagree with each other. Let's go, finally.
I actually thought it was a really refreshing show of nonpartisanship. It feels really sad to say that the worst moments, the biggest tragedies seem to unite us, but that is also perhaps a really good thing and something we should welcome, that, you know, when there's national grief, our political leaders come together and the partisan battles that we hear in the House of Commons are completely set aside, and the demonizing of your opponent is gone, and now we are coming together as a group. And I did not see the leader of the Bloc Québécois speech that way at all. I thought it was actually quite nice of him basically to say to Quebecers, his voters, I'm going to speak English now because not everybody in British Columbia has had a chance to learn French, so let me speak directly to them. And you see that across the country. You know, there are so many MPs who do and help other constituents from different ridings at all times. And, you know, I used to work as a parliamentary intern for a member of the Bloc Québécois in a nonpartisan program where you're sent to the opposition and to the government. And the Bloc was helping a BC MP, BC constituents, consular cases. So there are moments of nonpartisanship and things like that. I just want to kind of reframe that Bloc thing because I don't think it was fair to Yves-François Blanchet.
Okay, put that part aside, Chantal, and tell me what you. Don't put it aside. Go ahead. Sure.
I can't put that part aside either, for the same reason. Yves-François Blanchet is elected only by Quebecers, as opposed to any other leader in the House of Commons. It is totally natural for him to speak in the name of the Quebec nation, or at least the section of it that recognizes itself in the Bloc. And I don't believe a single Quebecer thought that there was anything called playing politics in that sense. Okay. What I mostly heard, and I'm closer to Althea's take on this, are people who are parents speaking as parents and as political leader. And it was authentic because you could tell that side of them was more important in what they had to say, and their understanding of the tragedy that has taken place than any political interest. Am I looking good? Will this be a good clip for the social media? And it was actually refreshing to find that all of them were not trying to audition for a clip on social media.
Boring. I'm going to move forward to the next topic here. We'll take a look.
At issue, U.S. tensions. The U.S. president continues to take aim at Canada, this time opposing the opening of the new Gordie Howe Bridge between Windsor and Detroit, claiming the deal would rip off the U.S. and was built without U.S. steel. The PM says he spoke to the president to clarify his misconceptions.
Canada paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion, that the ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge, obviously there's Canadian steel, Canadian workers, but also U.S. steel, U.S. workers.
So this latest dust up with the U.S. comes after reports that Trump is also considering leaving the trade agreement entirely, the one that he signed with Canada and Mexico. Here to break down this latest dispute between Canada and the U.S., Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. I mean, we might be doing a block of this every week at this stage. It feels like every week there's something else, some other threat or idea that the president had. In this case, it's my understanding he was being lobbied by the developer, the owner of the other bridge, who was worried about losing money. So there's a couple of interesting things, both from the president and I think the prime minister. Chantal, you start us off there.
It seems to me after a couple of days that President Trump scored in his own net. In the end, there was not a single sentence of his statement that stood the test of reality. And in so doing, I think he kind of shored up the increasing unease of Republicans and others towards his policies on trade. And that was followed fairly quickly by that vote in Congress that didn't go the way that the White House would have wanted. But the other thing is, it's one thing to stop a project that has not yet.
Yeah, I was hoping there would be a little bit more in here, but I got some other stories. I'll go to, well, I'll take a look at them now. Maybe I'll come back to this here. Okay, if we go to this, I got some X bookmarks here to go over. Let's take a look here. Calgary Herald, you can't blame people for mental health. Neighbors don't see Tumbler Ridge shooter as a criminal, but a victim. Are you kidding me? And then if we go to this story, bro, like people are so brainwashed. You can feel very bad about what they did, but they didn't get up in the morning thinking with a sane mind that they were going to do this. So like you can just, mental health can wash away this insane tragedy. There's just so many people in Canada that are mental health system failed the shooter, bro. This whole article sounds like an ad for higher taxes. So whose fault is it then? The government that this happened? The BC NDP government and the Liberal federal government, I guess? Like what are they saying here? It's impossible to get help. There's nobody here, even in the region. Even Prince George doesn't have the resources, and it's 6 hours away. Vancouver is the closest, and that doesn't work for us. We knew people. Okay, I'm going to go now to, have you guys seen Asmongold, the very popular American commentator, talk about this story, the Tumbler Ridge story? Because he absolutely blasts the story. He just does not hold back at all. Has anyone seen that clip yet? Cat Canada reposted it on her X, but it's quite fascinating. I'll play it here now because just give me 1 second. Oh, did I have that on the? I think I didn't have. Whoops! I think I didn't have the right tab open. My bad. L stream. I'm gonna get the. We'll go to Asmongold here. It's incredible how when there is a tragedy in Canada, you have to, a lot of times you have to go to American media to get the real take on it, because so many Canadian people in media are, I would say, afraid to talk. But, and then we got some other stuff here. The Moose on the Loose guy made a great breakdown too of how City News doctored an image
wanted transgender children.
Okay, check this out. This is so this is so intense. Cat Canada says Asmund Gold. She drugged up her kid, put him on SSRIs, let him do drugs, and gave him a gun. Now she's dead. In brackets, her son killed her. And yeah, if you don't know who Asmund Gold is, he's just a very popular live streamer in America. He talks about video games, but he also talks definitely lately quite a bit about politics.
And so the mother of Jesse Strang was a hardcore trans rights activist who wanted transgender children. She was murdered by her mass murderer son, who began transitioning as a child. Oh my God. Good people don't spend their time harassing marginalized communities. No, they spend their time apparently shooting up schools. How about that? Just like your son. Wow. Killed his brother too? Is that true? Yeah, I mean, there it is. And she's dressed up like a clown. I think that's pretty accurate because now she's dead. This is what happens whenever you, and how much do you want to bet?
He doesn't hold back at all in this. I mean, if you said this on Canadian news, you would never be invited back on. They only want that one point of view. Sometimes I wonder, like in that, I'm not going to actually play it, but I wonder if the Canadian news is actually boring on purpose, just to lull people to sleep. Like these panels, it's like watching paint dry. Very rarely is there an actual explosive, interesting moment.
That because again, I don't have any sympathy for these people. I don't, because what you did is you enabled a person to go out there and kill. You drugged up your kid. You drugged your kid up and you put them on SSRIs. You let them do drugs and you gave them a gun. And you were letting them think that they were another gender as a child. Like, and then they kill you? That's what happens. You shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done this. Like, you're a moron. Like, why would you do this? Like, yeah, it's child abuse. Exactly. Like, you basically, like, you hop this kid up on a bunch of drugs, crazy ideologies. He flies off the handle, and that's what happens. It's sad. I don't feel any sympathy for them at all. I feel sympathy for the families that have been killed and the people that were killed that had nothing to do with this.
So do I. But again, I went to that article. I'll come back to Asmund. I mean, apparently neighbors don't see Tumbler Ridge shooter as a criminal, but as a victim. I mean, maybe you could say, like Asmund Gold is saying, that the mother was incredibly irresponsible for encouraging this type of stuff. But I mean, why in Canada are we not allowed to even ask questions about this? If you see the discourse online, and this is again where I'll give Poilievre a pass, because I think you got to give him maybe, like, I think he's going to Tumbler Ridge today with Carney, but I don't think Poilievre will make this an issue. You don't even need to be that. I think if you're a politician, Poilievre lets so many pitches go by where he doesn't want to talk about it. So many cultural issues, especially, then don't be the leader of the party. Get somebody else in there that wants to at least give a take on things, even if they're not popular. Poilievre lately is obsessed with, I'd say, being liked and being seen as like this polite whatever. And it's stupid. Get somebody else in there that actually wants to comment on these issues. All Poilievre wants to talk about is carbon tax and crime. Stuff like this, he'll just let it go, I think. I mean, I'll give him a little bit more time because I don't think he needs to comment on it right away, but I see lots of his like the conservative commentators in Canada giving their take on this, like Moose on the Loose, Mario Zelaya, Cat Canada, who all support Poilievre. Why can't Poilievre do that? It's just incredible. The American right, they always comment on these stories. You don't got to just wait, Poilievre, for two pitches to come, a story on crime and a story on where you can link it to carbon taxes. Like, if you're in politics, you got to go at every issue. You got to give your take and say, this is what I think about this. Like, Poilievre just wants to talk about two things. The Epstein files, Carney's in there, doesn't even bring it up. Again, like there's more to politics than carbon tax and crime. And this is why, again, I think Poilievre's a weak leader.
Really, like, I mean, again, like people make these. And honestly, I feel worse for the kid that did the shooting than I do for her.
I'd even be like more okay if Poilievre came out and said, hey, like if he took the opposite view of this. I'm not even kidding. Just the part that bothers me the most about Poilievre is he's weak and he doesn't want to talk about stuff like this. He's like, again, does he have a smartphone? Does he have an internet connection? Does he not pay attention to what is happening in the world? It's actually pathetic. I just think he shouldn't be the leader of the Conservative Party then. If you don't want to comment on stuff, if you just want to wait around for your pet issue of carbon tax and crime policy.
She's the adult. She should be the one knowing this. But instead, she gassed this up and led her son to believe all of this crazy shit, let him drug himself up, take other illicit, illegal drugs.
I agree. By trying to appeal to everyone, that's exactly correct. I think he's giving away so many votes in what could be his base by not addressing things like this or Epstein files or the elbows up stuff. I don't even know how Poilievre is different than Carney on foreign policy. Do you know? It's very unclear what he would do differently when negotiating with Trump because he never talks about it. And he wants to be like Team Canada or whatever, but it's very unclear how Poilievre would be different, in my opinion. And I think he's just giving away so many voters like me or like other people on the right who would want to support him, but have a hard time doing that. And I think he picks up no voters in the middle that already are going to call him far right, blah, 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 populist, alt-right. Like those people don't care. There's so many people in Canada who are just never going to vote Conservative that you're never going to win over anyway.
Drugs, and on top of that, allowed him to have a gun, and then he went out and killed them. Bro, like this kid is at a degree. I mean, there's a reason why you're a legal guardian. You are supposed to be protecting your kid. You're supposed to be taking care of your kid. Did you do that? No, you didn't. And you and he paid the ultimate price. And so did a lot of other people. I hate these people. They are so evil. They are so evil and so wrong and so bad. And the reason why it makes me so angry is the fact that they do it under the illusion of empathy and virtue. Yeah. They are the farthest thing from empathy and virtue. They are getting other people killed so they can feel good about themselves. Makes me so fucking annoyed.
Bro, you'll never hear that in Canada. It's crazy. I mean, some people online in Canada have been doing a pretty good job of talking about this, but this one here, people are trying to politicize what, like, even just let's have the conversation. So many people are trying to shut it down. And again, I don't think Poilievre is even going to go there. People are trying to politicize what this is about. It's not about guns. It's not about transgenderism. It's about mental health. It's about a lack of resources. Again, this sounds like an ad for higher taxes. Listen to the mother of a victim of the Tumbler Ridge shootings fighting for her life. Bro, like, this is definitely suicidal empathy with what Gad Sad talks about. Says she feels compassion for shooter's mother. Bro, why? I'm not going to think that that's a normal statement. It's in like, what the fuck, man? Oh, sorry, I got the wrong tab again. Look at this. Mother of critically injured Tumbler Ridge victim says she feels compassion for shooter's mother. Why? Holy shit, man. This story makes me like, so many people are just so cooked, man. They just immediately go to, oh, let's not hurt anyone's feelings. Let's make sure we have the right current thing talking points. And again, you got to go to America for a bunch of these takes that are actually conservative. Do you think Poilievre or Scheer or anyone is even going to give a take on, like, I'll be totally honest, I don't even follow the transgender story that much because I'm not naturally that interested in it. But I think if you're a politician and you're the leader of the Conservative Party, whether you like it or not, you got to talk about it. You got to have a position. You got to at least try to understand it. Poilievre, again, just seems too lazy to try to even figure out what is happening here. I'll play this from Emily Austin, American commentator.
Thus far, there's a school shooter. Thus far, 10 people are dead. There are people in the hospital, they're children. And then Jesse, when he is done shooting people, he killed himself after, by the way, I'll add, killing his mother, who, if she wasn't dead, belongs in jail, and we'll get into that, and killing his 11-year-old stepbrother. Now, there's a reason I'm emphasizing the word he, all right? Jesse was born a male and decided at 12 years old that he is a female. I respect people's pronouns. It's so annoying that every episode I have to say this because y'all are so insane. Again, I don't care. But in this instance, this man murdered little kids. Do you think I give a damn what their pronouns are? And neither should the police. Not only are the police respecting the pronouns, which fine, at that point, do whatever you want, but they tried to hide the details of this school shooting because they were afraid it was going to violate this gun person's privacy. How insanely selfish are you? There's a school shooter.
Yeah, they killed.
Transgender that has opened fire.
We'll take a look at this one too here.
On a school, this time in Canada. This boy, we have yet another transgender that has opened fire on a school, this time in Canada. This boy killed his mother and his 11-year-old stepbrother before opening fire on Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, killing a teacher and students. The media is calling it a gun person. The police are calling it a gun person.
The deceased gun person.
This next officer saying is that they respect the killer's preferred pronouns.
I will say this. We identified the suspect.
Yeah, exactly, Saltius. The Conservatives play a game that the Liberals want, and the Conservatives will never win at that game. They stay in this little Overton window and try to comment just on the things that are approved by liberal media. They're never going to win like that.
As they chose to be identified.
To be honest, I actually firmly believe Poilievre, Andrew Scheer, the Conservative Party brass does not want to win. That I actually believe that. You can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but that's my current conspiracy theory for Canada. I actually don't think Poilievre even wants to be the prime minister. He just wants to be the leader of the opposition, collect his paycheck, do his little speeches and question period.
Public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male.
So law enforcement has to go by facts. If it doesn't,
yeah, I agree, James.
Then how will the people trust that institution? How can the people trust that crimes will be solved and their communities will be safer when they have leaders who bend to this new normal imposed by the least normal people on the face of the planet? I actually don't respect the pronouns that don't match a person's biological sex because outside of that, it is not real. I also don't respect the wishes of cold-blooded, mentally ill killers.
Exactly, man. Holy crap. Can we start with that? Who gives a shit what this person, they just killed a bunch of children.
I also don't respect the wishes of cold-blooded, mentally ill killers who shoot up innocent people. Truly, who
exactly? Who gives a
gives
shit?
a rip about a dead murderer's preferred pronouns? I
totally
don't. And it's really sick that law enforcement in Canada cares about this.
It is sick. She's right.
Let me play how the...
Here's Glenn Beck here. I might not play his entire clip, but I got some more stuff. The next one is Moose on the Loose, I think, does a great breakdown here.
Canadian press and the police. Let me play how the Canadian press and the police did everything they could to not truly identify this shooter. Listen to this, cut one.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Bro, I'm done with Poilievre. I think Poilievre is terrible. You gotta jump through so many hoops to like Poilievre. I actually feel bad for Moose on the Loose, and I mean, I don't feel bad for them, I guess, but Mario Zelaya, Jasmine Lane. I wonder at what point they are going to say, hey, Poilievre, you actually suck. Because, like, I know that they still kind of support him and all that stuff, but why are they the only ones? Cat Canada, they'll talk about issues like this. They'll talk about the culture war stuff. And the Liberals don't care. They'll comment on whatever they want. They don't care about offending conservatives, but the Conservative Party. So I truly hope that Mario, Jasmine Lane, the pleb, all these guys and girls just totally turn on Poilievre, because they're doing all the work for him. Poilievre barely does anything. Again, Poilievre talks about climate change, I guess a little bit, carbon taxes, and crime.
And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship to
The gun person? I've never heard that term before. The gun person. And then once somebody said, excuse me, in this transgender, they turned the press conference into this nightmare of, we identify people the way they want to be identified. And, you know, we don't take to this bigotry, in so many words, here in Canada. And it's
like, for example, if this happened in the United States, right? Something, this exact same situation or whatever. Do you think JD Vance, Donald Trump, Rubio, whoever in the administration, Stephen Miller, would have a take on it? Of course they would. They would say what they think. The trying to defend the Conservative Party in Canada, you have to do it with the most rose-colored glasses possible. That's the part where I think that pleb, Mario, Jasmine Lane, they paint the Conservative Party in a different lens than they actually are. They act like it's this different, brave thing that I don't think they are right now. And I truly hope they all turn on the Conservative Party, but I don't think that'll happen. But anyway,
it's like, wait, that's not what this story is about. This story is not about guns or anything else. It's about somebody who is mentally unwell.
In other words, there's more to running a country than what the crime policy is and what the carbon tax policy is.
And that may have played a role. Cosman, tell me about the atmosphere that you live in where nobody seems to think this is a problem or had anything to do with the shooting.
Yeah. So it seems that the media and the police have bent themselves into pretzels trying to avoid the most obvious fact that this individual was sick, had a lot of mental issues, but also was very heavily into the transgender movement.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great point. And I have actually a clip on this. I don't think Poilievre would have a different stance on foreign policy than he would. I think Poilievre would be a little bit better about sending money away, but I don't think he would stop the money to Ukraine, even though this war has been going on now for quite some time, and just more and more money. Carney just gave more money to Ukraine. I don't think that Poilievre would have a different point of view on that. He even said as much in the last debate, I believe.
So now with the pictures emerging that Jesse had all sorts of, social media activity involved in all sorts of communities where he discussed his transition at a very young age. I believe he started his transition when he was around 12 years old. So He was also seeking hormones.
So 12 years old, bro. What the hell? And again, I don't want to be a broken record, but who cares? Do you think Poilievre will bring this up? Is this responsible to be doing for that mother to be doing that?
Treatment, so like changing his hormones.
Look, not at least commenting on this is disqualifying for the leader of a country. If you're going to say you're the conservative person.
To present more female, prevent puberty, etc. So there was definitely an involvement in like pharmaceuticals. He was seeking out therapy, and the police knew about Jesse because he had a troubling background. Incidents of violence. The police showed up. There was weapons on the premises. They took those weapons. They returned the weapons at some point. But it's all over the place. You look online. Jesse's The picture that's emerging of Jesse is a very troubled kid who was also into this transgender community and spent a lot of time online discussing these.
Shout out, by the way, Juno News. Juno News had some great reporting here. I saw Matt Walsh talk about their reporting following this story. So shout out massively to Juno News. Canada is lucky that we have Juno News at this moment.
Things. And like I said, the media and the police have bent themselves backwards trying to avoid talking about this. And the reason is because in Canada, we actually added human rights protections to our Human Rights Act.
Yeah, well, we'll see what he says here. One sec.
Essentially protecting gender expression. So the police, the media are required.
Look, the police officers, to their defense, from what I looked up, as I interpret the rule, they have to be a little bit sensitive or they can face, I don't know that they would get fired, but they can face some sort of discipline if they're kind of intentionally using the wrong pronouns. So I'll try to I feel a little bit of sympathy for sure for the people anyway.
To, address even killers by their preferred pronouns.
Like if you're in a professional setting like that, I do think it can create problems for you like it did for Jordan Peterson.
And you see it in these press conferences. The deputy commissioner of the RCMP, the RCMP is the federal police force in Canada, essentially like the FBI in the United States, is insisting that people use Jesse's female pronouns. You look at headlines all over the place, are calling him a female shooter. It's outrageous.
Yeah, you're right about the Pierre, about Pierre in the gym. Yeah, get out of the gym, bro. Start be the leader of the party. Who cares if you're jacked? So this one here, Carney just committed another $100 million apparently to Ukraine. But would Poilievre even be different than this? Because I'm not so sure that he would be. I think he might be a little better on foreign aid, but the problem is, I think Poilievre would say that he'd be different on foreign aid. Then when he'd go to cut stuff, the media would freak out and he would back out, I think. I don't think Poilievre has the stomach to be the leader.
Senior reporter Jonathan Gatehouse joins us now. Jonathan, Mark Carney was the focus of so many of the attacks tonight. He spent a lot of time on the defensive, but there was one comment he made about Pierre Poilievre eliminating foreign aid. Can you walk us through that comment?
Yeah, that's right, Adrian. It was during an exchange on Ukraine. Here's what Carney said.
Exactly, Mr. Carter. There's no excuse. And I don't think Poilievre has ever given a public justification for why he didn't go on Joe Rogan. There's no justification, but yeah.
Aid for Ukraine. Mr. Poilievre wants to cut foreign aid, including for Ukraine, or not. He didn't mention support for aid for Ukraine. We have to stand by them. We have to be there, and this government has been.
So Mark Carney has said this repeatedly on the campaign
What
trail.
about being there for Canadians? How's it going in your life? I mean, the situation economically in Canada was way better 10, 15 years ago. Can you afford things?
And it's not entirely
I know some people can, but holy, is it expensive out there?
accurate. Pierre Poilievre has criticized Canada's foreign aid, saying it often goes to dictators, terrorist groups, and global bureaucracies. And he has promised massive cuts, but he has never said he plans to eliminate it. And when it comes to Ukraine, the conservative leader has vowed to continue to support its war against Russia.
And Jonathan, Jagmeet Singh was pretty feisty tonight, right? Lots of interjections, lots of comments. What did he say that you took a closer look at?
Yeah, there was an attack he made on both the Liberal and Conservative leaders. Here's a portion of it.
Both Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre
I don't know, marry an American, maybe? I don't know.
Proposing cutting government spending and cutting those services. That's not going to make our community safer.
So the NDP claim Mark Carney wants to balance the federal budget, and that will necessarily mean billions in service cuts. Carney says he will review government spending, but will protect transfers to individuals and provinces. And when it comes to healthcare, he's promising to spend more. Pierre Poilievre, for his part, has talked about reducing government waste and red tape and cutting the size of the public service.
Okay, I'm going to go here. Moose on the Loose does a great breakdown here of city news. Like, what the fuck are we doing in Canada? Look at this. What Moose on the Loose? I'll just play this.
Moving ahead, we've got quite the situation coming from City News. Got Kozman posting this. He says this is messed up. Canadian media outlet City News is applying beauty filters to make the trans pew pew character here, Jesse Van Rootseller, which is his real name, look more female. And looking in the comments here, people are looking this up, and this is what the photo is showing now, which is the real one, the unbeautified one. And he's saying that he took this as screen grab from 11 a.m. this morning. So apparently they've switched it now because people caught on to their trick. So I'm going to bring this into Photoshop and just verify. Now, I used to make human heads in 3D for the video game industry for a handful of years. I was a lead artist at Electronic.
Yeah, musics. I hope that does are you in like the, well, whatever, you don't have to say. But interesting. I believe in Britain right now, there is a reform party that's really catching on. At least in the summer, last time I checked, I don't know how they're doing right now in the polls, but I think Britain, if anyone has any knowledge on that, let me know in the chat. But last I heard, Britain has a real surge happening in a reform type party.
Arts, and that's
I think it might be literally called the Reform Party.
What I did. I made all the most important sports players' heads like Wayne Gretzky, Sidney Crosby, the very first year he was in the NHL. That kind of dates me. So immediately looking at this.
Yeah, I just do. I honestly feel like Moose, Mario Zelaya, again, I made this point before, they all have to sit there and defend Poilievre, but I don't think Poilievre gives them much to defend. But like, I'm not even saying they're doing this, but being pro Poilievre is better for numbers than what I'm doing right now. This is probably not great for my YouTube numbers, but it's just the way I feel. Like, you know what I mean? Like cheerleading the current politician in power, you're going to get more numbers that way. Like just a lot of way that people kind of work. You just follow what's the leader's doing, whatever. But so I'm not saying that they're doing that. I'm not calling them grifters, but I do think they got to constantly get on YouTube and speak about the Conservative Party as if it's doing the right thing and this honorable, brave party, when what are they doing to make you love them? They have a different, like, all Poilievre wants to talk about is carbon tax.
I mean, this is what I used to do every single day. I'd look at a photo of the person and then the 3D model and be like, what is not right about this character? Where is the likeness off? And immediately when I look at this, I'll put it into Photoshop to prove this, but it looks like they've taken the eyes and moved them inwards. They've made the mouth more symmetrical. It flares more on this side than this side. And it looks like they took the right side and made that symmetrical. They added a bit more glow to the skin. Obviously, this is more dimmed down and there's a blue hue to it. And they also made the nose symmetrical and looked like they tightened it in a little bit. And the eye.
Yeah, this too. Pierre's way too weak on immigration. He's way too weak on literally every issue except for taxes.
Eyebrows too. You can see it looks like they've pushed down this flare here and cleaned up this edge here of the eyebrow hair to make it look more feminine. You can also see the hair looks like it's been altered. It's been pushed up.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
And tightened up, made look a little less scraggly. So we're going to bring these in here. We're going to make these the same size first off. Get these exactly the same. I'm going to color correct this just to make it look similar to the other one. That way, when we flip it, it's not too different. They definitely doctored this photo. I'm going to make this a little bit brighter. We'll bring up the midtones a little bit here, and the blacks are a little bit darker. So we flip this now, and it's still got that blue hue. So looking at the two layers here, this is the one that they doctored from City News. This is actually worse than I thought they did here. They changed quite a few things. What we did in the video game industry is we would line up at least the nose and then the mouth and then the eyes. And then if you flip it on and off, you would see the things jumping out that are not.
Isn't that crazy? Why did City News do that? Again, they're not going to have to even address this probably because they're not going to care, City News, about what a YouTuber says. Like this guy, Moose, whatever his name is, they're not going to care. But if Andrew Scheer or someone in the Conservative Party brought this up, maybe they would actually address it and say, oh, we ran it through, and whatever their justification would say. Like maybe they would come up with, oh, we ran it through an AI filter and we screwed up. We're sorry. They're not going to care about a YouTuber, even if he is pretty popular like Moose. But if the Conservative Party asks, what are you doing? Why did you do this? Maybe they would address it, but we don't have a real opposition in Canada.
In the mouth and then the eyes. And then if you flip it on and off, you would see the things jumping out that are not correct. And then after you do this hundreds of times and make hundreds of human heads, then you can just look at them and see the differences. But if I flip this on and off, look at the eyes here. They actually added eyelashes. They added a specular highlight on the eye, which makes it feel more real. Also, when people cry, their eyes are wet. You get a bigger specular highlight there. It adds a bit of emotion to this. They changed the shape of the eyebrow. So just look at the eyes, and I'll flip it on and off. So look at these eyelashes here. They added those in. Unless they had a much higher resolution photo, but even then, you don't see the same specular highlight on these eyes here. So clearly they added that in, because see that white there? That's added in. Not to mention, you can look at the shape. They basically smoothed out the bags here, made it look more feminine. You can see this.
Yeah. What do you mean by this? Because I kind of feel this, but I'm not going to call it anyone yet, because I think a lot of people are kind of waiting for maybe Poilievre, the CPC, to shift their strategy. I don't think it's ever going to come. Yeah, the part that bothers me the most, I don't even think the right wing is going to be correct on every single issue. Like I'd consider myself probably center right, but the problem I have is you don't even know what the right idea is, because in Canada, the right wing doesn't get represented. In America, the left and the right are constantly going at one another with their ideas. Okay, what's the right idea? Let's find out what it is. Like, I'm not saying I'd agree with 100% of right-wing point of views. I'm definitely a right-wing guy, but that would just be the truth. Like, no, I don't think of myself as just strictly partisan in one direction. But in Canada, how do you even know what the truth is when the right wing here has all these no-go zones? Oh, I don't want to talk about that cultural issue. I don't want to talk about the Epstein files because it's going to make me look mean. I don't want to talk about this Tumbler Ridge situation because it's controversial. You don't even know what the answer is. And USA, I would say that's just another reason they're eating our lunch right now, economically, in so many other ways. Canada just has become this crazy woke zombie land where we can't even debate anything.
Specular highlight in the tear duct here, that wasn't there, because even if this was from this photo, that you would still see the white there, which it's not there. Somebody added that. It also looks like they took the corner of this eye and they pulled it down, having these angled eyes like that.
I actually agree with this now. I used to not, but I do think there's some sort of uniparty funny business happening, because it doesn't make any sense. Poilievre doesn't even try to win. I don't know exactly if it's even a spoken agreement. There's just something that's happened, because Poilievre criticized Trudeau way harder than he does Carney.
That the more cat eye is a lot more feminine. And then they also lifted this part of the eye and added the lashes there, which obviously looks more feminine. And then they toned down the shape of the eyebrow here and cleaned up this inner part here, less hair there, which you can see there. On and off, it's jumping out. And the big one here, they added all this hair onto the face. Obviously, that's just added on, right? Like, look at that. It's so obvious. Now, as for the lips, exactly what I said earlier, they basically just they mirrored this side on this side. So they basically just used a brush to just push that in. So you can see this is tapered in now. If you look at the on and off, you can see it flare out. If you look at the corner of the lip there. They also smoothed out the shadow underneath the mouth here a bit. You can see that.
Yeah, I think Mark Carney is actually going to be the Prime Minister of Canada for the next 20 years.
That. They added more of a specular highlight on the chin, the nose, and the cheek, as well as a bit on the forehead. Now, I don't know if the original photo had more photo that went up here, but clearly this is a taller photo that has more pixels.
It was 44%, really? Holy crap.
To it. And then, as I mentioned before, look at the hair here. It's quite obvious that this is different. You can see they basically repainted the shape. They just stopped it right there. This is a very feminine looking curl of the hair there, where the original one goes way down here. Looks kind of scraggly and messy. So they're not fooling anyone here. This is obviously a doctored photo. And the last thing I pointed out was the nose. You can see they have in fact made the nose look more feminine. They basically pushed in this part and rounded off the bottom here a little bit, because his original nose was a little bit more stout and thick on the bottom here, and they basically thinned that up. Just look at the nose. It just jumps right at you. You can't not see it when you see it flicking on and off. Quite clear they're doctoring the photo here to make this monster look more feminine and appealing to look at. This is disgusting what the media is doing. Oh, and the last thing I want to address is the color. So you can see this is the one I brightened up. It would look similar to this one, but I took the color from the bottom photo, the original one here, and I put it on top as just a color layer, and then this is what you get. So you can see they've actually changed the tint of the color quite a bit. They added blue. Now, blue is a cold color, and it makes the person seem more like a victim when using that.
Yeah, thank you, Callan. Yeah, I think so. If you would have just talked to the media like basically a real person, I almost think Poilievre wants to. It almost seems like there's a little bit of a true conservative in there waiting somewhere, but I don't know. Do you guys agree with this? It almost seems like he wants to be conservative, but he holds back. So I don't know. Maybe not. I also think there's a chance, though, that he's actually just a little bit lazy and he doesn't want to study issues that aren't related to like carbon tax and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but it almost seems like Poilievre, doesn't even want to sit there and learn about the transgender issue or just any cultural issue, the Epstein file stuff. I don't know.
Color. This is very subtle psychology they're using here. And to play devil's advocate, they could be using blue to indicate this is a deceased person now, but the devil's advocate doesn't make sense when they're already doctoring the photo and making this guy look more feminine. So City News has been caught out. They thought they could just sweep this under the rug by quickly swapping out the other photo. Not on my watch. It's not happening. Good on Cosman here for
Yeah, shout out to Moose, though. This is a great breakdown.
pointing this out, and you can see the original photo now with the dim face, and then just all these slight tweaks makes this guy look so much more feminine. And this is not the first time we've seen this. I mean, just even like 2 weeks ago, which somebody has posted right in the comments. Remember, they took this guy and they made him look a lot more handsome, brought in the chin, colored up the face. They beefed up, they don't have it here. They beefed up his biceps and they made his neck thicker. Like
Yeah, but the difference is this actually became a big story in America. This City News thing, I mean, it'll trend on X maybe for a few hours and then mostly I'd say get forgotten. This was a pretty big deal in America from what I saw. The fact that this is such an odd, like, look how crazy that is. Just way, way better looking in this second image.
Colored up the face. They beefed up, they don't have it here. They beefed up his biceps and they made his neck thicker. Like, this is disgraceful what the media does.
Crazy. Okay, well, I'll probably just stream for a little bit longer here. But
my first question for you is...
I'll play this video. This is not what I was intending to play, but it's a pretty interesting clip, actually.
Thank you, Minister. My first question for you is, you recently made a statement after becoming minister that part of the responsibility of CBC is to foster what you called, quote, social cohesion. Can you explain for the committee what you meant by social cohesion? The reason I ask is because experienced journalists have stated that these words, this term, is often used by the People's Republic of China to mean state control and zero tolerance for challenges. That seems counter to the values that we hold here in Canada, and so I'm curious as to what you meant by social cohesion.
This is actually a good question. This is an example of the CPC doing a good job. Good work.
I think in an age that we're all living through of intense disinformation,
Oh my God.
there is less social cohesion as falsities are propagated through
This guy is such a tyrant, psychopath, bro. What the fuck?
media sources, both legitimate and illegitimate, integral to a healthy democracy.
Oh my.
Indeed, the fourth pillar of our democracy is a healthy media ecosystem.
Bro, we have the most unhealthy media ecosystem. There's one perspective. It's actually incredible that even liberals don't agree with that. You would think that they would want the opposite side of view or opposite point of view to have their say, but they don't, obviously. They just want to be tyrannical. And oh man, anyway.
That exercises rightly its freedom of expression.
You don't believe that, bro.
Again, integral to that is a state-financed public media.
Holy crap. This is so creepy.
That is the CBC or Radio-Canada, not state-controlled. Indeed, the CBC's mandate is one that is ferociously independent, and we should all...
No, it isn't, dude. That's so laughable. Everybody knows that it's not independent. And obviously the incentive is not there for them to be independent. What do you think they're going to do when one political party wants to keep giving them all this money?
Mandate is one that is ferociously independent, and we should all defend that, whether they're saying good or bad things about us.
No, we shouldn't all defend that. I'm not defending that. It's stupid. Defund the CBC today.
So when there is a lack of support for a public broadcaster, I think that contributes to the spread of disinformation, and social cohesion is therefore affected. It's not about any sort of...
Man, this is so creepy.
Command and control of the media system that you may see in other countries, but indeed in part of an integral to a healthy democracy.
So what is social cohesion?
Social cohesion is
being liberal. That's all they mean. Everybody knows that's what they mean. Does anyone disagree with this? He means be liberal.
The ability for people to trust their institutions, to not feel like society is falling apart, that we are all living together.
Holy shit, the privilege, this guy. What if you can't afford a house where you grew up? What are you supposed to think? Oh, this is fine.
Like society is falling apart.
What if I can't afford a house? And what if I grew up in Toronto and the average home's $1 million? Is that not society falling apart? The media tells me, oh, it's actually not falling apart. Okay, that's good. I'll just live my entire life then in despair in my parents' basement.
That we are all living together and able to exercise the rights, in the case of Canada, that define us.
Crap,
freedom as enshrined in the Charter of Rights. I mean, I could go on beyond the time allotted for you to discuss this, Ms. Thomas, but I think
I agree with that. Pierre is a liberal. He is. Like, it's sad.
Both agree as to what it is.
Yeah, you're not allowed. It's totally true. These people, the liberal elite in Canada, would lose their minds if there was a real conservative party in Canada. That's actually what I hope for federally in Canada. Like, I obviously support the Western independence movements, but man, it would be nice if federally in Canada, regardless of what happens, like hopefully the Western independence stuff is successful, but holy crap, if there could be a real reform party, because the CPC is not it, man. Here's Bernier. This is a new video. Let's take a look at this.
The horrific.
I like Bernier, but holy, his accent, bro, is it's so rough. The horrific, he's just so French, but whatever. Shout out to Bernier.
The horrific shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, is a national tragedy. It's one of the deadliest massacres in Canadian history. In times like these, grief and sadness are very real, but not enough. We must have the courage to speak the truth. The mainstream media and the police claim the shooter was a woman. This is false. It's a lie. And established.
Look, Pierre should be saying this, bro. It's just so unacceptable, man. Like, you need the both sides of an argument in. I don't even think Canada wants to be democratic in a way, or I mean, they just do not want free speech.
Politicians did not challenge that. The shooter was a young man who identified as a woman, a young man trapped in a delusion fueled by a radical ideology that denies biological reality. Instead of helping this gender-confused boy overcome his mental health issues, his delusions was actively encouraged. His mind and body was contaminated by telling him he was a girl, by pumping him with dangerous drugs designed to suppress his natural development. Encouraging a delusion is child abuse.
Totally, bro. Thank you, Max. Let's go. I think Maxime Bernier has been kind of quiet lately, but show it to him for this.
As my friend Billboard Chris once said, we don't have gender identities. We have personalities, and personalities don't require a sex change. We have two sexes, zero gender, and infinite personalities. That's reality. But our society has abandoned reality. We have allowed a sinister cult to take over our institutions. We have allowed a radical ideology to convince us that a boy can become a girl. This tragedy is the inevitable outcome of a society that has gone sick. It's a sick society that tells gender dysphoria children they were born in the wrong body. It's sick to render children sterile with drugs. It's sick to mutilate healthy genitals in the name of affirmation. And it's sick to refuse to acknowledge that the radical gender ideology had an impact on the shooter's behavior.
And look, if Pierre continues to not bring this up, he's in effect saying he disagrees with everything Bernier is saying here.
We must,
in my opinion,
change course before more lives are lost. We must reject this toxic ideology. We must stop lying to children, and we must have the courage to say what everyone knows, but few dare to express. No kids are transgender. They are only children who have been deceived. The gender ideology is a lie.
It's such a it's so crazy, man. You can do all, you can't vote, you can't drink alcohol, but you can change your gender, like, bro.
And it's destroying our society.
Okay, shout out to Max. That statement was fantastic. And look, I'm not even saying this to virtue signal. I literally mean this. You could, what if you disagree with that, say that, but that needs to be, I agree with the vast majority, probably the entire statement from Bernier there. If you disagree with that, you have free speech. You can do that. Let's have the argument though. Talk about it. Again, in Canada, it's just no. There's more than one issue like this. There's so many issues in Canada where the answer is, we're not going to talk about that one. We're not going to talk about that one. We're not going to talk about that one. How many issues does there need to be like that in Canada that are off limits? No wonder America, again, is eating our lunch, because we totally just, man, every cultural issue, it seems like, gets deemed controversial by the liberal elites, and then no one talks about it. And clearly that's not great. This one I'm not going to play because it's on Alberta separation, so I'll probably come back to that one. But I'll read some of the chats. If anyone has a video recommendation, you can let me know. Exactly, you would think Pierre's team would have done a complete character. I know, they should do something, bro. Like, they love Carney almost. They don't ever criticize him. Canada will never get a conservative government again. You're probably right. I think eventually they will, but I don't see it happening in the short or medium term. He got his pension and does the bare minimum. I agree. I hate to blackpill you, but it's just the facts. The political class does not actually care about the people. They are paid over $200K. No, I know I'm pretty blackpilled on Canada, but I'm not blackpilled on the world or America. I still think the world has a good future. And I think long-term Canada hopefully does, but and I think America still has a good future. Like, I'm not blackpill on America or the world. Well, if Clowney is going to be prime minister, yeah, exactly. He is a rhino. Totally. They don't care, and even if they did, okay, the media likes fixing photos. Yeah, I think I'm kind of behind on the chats, but whatever. I will play another video in the meantime, and then just get to these chats. And then I think I'll probably take a break and then go maybe live later on Alberta stuff. Okay, this is kind of an intro. We'll see if we. It says Canada has weakened more climate policies than they've strengthened. I don't know about this, but let's take a look.
Joining me now is Ross Lyndon Fraser, research lead at the Canadian Climate Institute. Ross, thank you very much for being here. You worked on this report. What are the main takeaways as to why Canada will not meet its climate targets?
Well, the main takeaway is pretty straightforward, that if you look at the news over the last year or two, we've seen provinces and in some cases the federal government weakening more climate policies than they've strengthened. It's also important to acknowledge that Canada has not.
She supports UBI, really? Lanceman? Holy crap. I could, oh man, that's incredible.
Been on its track for its targets before. We did this study 2 years ago and then we still weren't in track, but the direction of travel is different. Whereas in the past, governments seem to be trying to move closer to the target. Over the past couple of years, they've moved away from them.
How does Canada compare to other countries on this front?
Other countries have made more progress than Canada. If you look at all of the other members of the G7 and other countries that are, wealthy, developed economies like Canada, nearly all of them have made more progress in reducing their emissions. Strangely enough, that.
So what, we need to go harder at it? This guy, research lead, Canadian Climate Institute. Dude, this guy, oh, this is so pathetic.
Includes the United States. Obviously, we're seeing huge rollbacks of climate policy in the United States, much greater than we are here. But the reality is most developed countries have made more progress than Canada. And that's partly about the nature of their emissions, but it's also partly about the policies that they've put in place that have just had more of an impact than the efforts we've made.
Clown world. Who cares? Nobody cares, bro. Do another job. This really pisses me off too. I'm just on a getting pissed off rant today, obviously. That's probably every day, but anyway, not every day, but anyway. This guy, okay, research lead, Canadian Climate Institute. This should not be a job, in my opinion. If you care about the climate, go start a company like Tesla, or go work at Tesla, or go work at some other company like that that's creating EV vehicles or creating technology in the climate space. Just to have this stupid institute, the Canadian Climate Institute. I'm the research lead at the Canadian Climate Institute. That's a bullcrap job. What do you just sit around and research climate change all day long? Or maybe start a YouTube channel and talk about climate change. See if people give a crap enough to watch your YouTube channel. These jobs really bother me. How is this being funded? What is this? Like, how do you think this Canadian Climate Institute is being funded? Where do you think this guy draws his salary from? It wouldn't be the free market.
Let's talk about what's happening south of the border a little bit. You mentioned Trump repealing that landmark climate ruling. How worrying is that for climate change here in Canada?
Well, it's concerning because obviously we, as we all know and have seen many times over the past year, everything that the United States does affects us. Now, the Carney government has made some clear signals that they are looking to distance themselves from the American approach to climate change. We saw this just a couple of weeks ago or last week when the federal government announced its new automotive strategy. The Trump administration has not just repealed this finding, they've also weakened their standards for vehicle emissions. And the Carney government signaled that it's going to split off from the United States. We've always been lined up in the past, but now Canada's going to move closer to European standards. And that's a good move. That's a good sign that even as things in the United States are going to continue to affect us, Canada's going to chart its own course on vehicle emissions.
Charting its own course, what will it take to get Canada on track to reach its goals?
It's going to take a lot. Our study was just a look at government policy. So we haven't yet put out our own analysis of what Canada needs to do to get itself back on track. But we've got some recommendations because our analysis showed some clear things. One clear thing is that if the federal government gets the details right on some of the tools it's using now, that can make a big difference. The federal government is now negotiating the details of industrial carbon pricing and methane regulations with Alberta and other provinces. And our analysis shows that if Canada makes those regulations rigorous and holds to the commitments they made in the memorandum of understanding last year, Canada can make a lot more progress. But other things like providing consumers with support to buy heat pumps and electric vehicles are going to be important and we expect to put out more details on the changes Canada can make in the weeks ahead.
All right,
That's
Ross.
so dumb, bro. Climate change is not progress. It's just a waste of time. Anyway, I'm going to finish the stream. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video or stream.